Hey guys! So this video is going to be a little bit different. So instead of reviewing something or overclocking something or showing you how to overclock something yourself, I'm going to be rebuilding this guy. This is actually the computer I use pretty much every day. It's my main workstation. I use it for everything. It almost never gets turned off. I'm going to be rebuilding it. The main issue is that it was built in a bit of a hurry here. So we have tubing that's too long and kind of ugly and not very good. The wires all over the place. We'll also be replacing the 7800X with a 1680 V2, which is an 8-core Ivy Bridge CPU. And that's pretty much it. What am I actually replacing? Because I said I was rebuilding my workstation, but what is actually changing? This is what I had in my workstation before. This is X299 OC formula. It has a 6800X in it and 32 gigs of memory. And this is what I'll be putting in. It's a Rampage 4 Black Edition. It has a 1680 V2 Xeon, so it's an 8-core unlocked Xeon. This is 24 gigs of memory in quad channel. So we have 16 gigs, which is 4x4, and then the other 4 are 2 each. So that gives us 24. And pretty much everything's going to stay the same. It's just this one has a M.2. That's pretty much the only difference, and this one has slightly less memory. Performance-wise, they're pretty equal. I'm interested to see how the Xeon does with a much bigger water cooling, because this one gets really hot even with the dual quad 120 radiators I had on it. But this is Skylake X, so it runs really hot anyway. With the 2 extra cores and 4 extra threads, I've done a few tests, and this CPU actually does about the same as this CPU in almost everything, or better, sometimes worse. So they're roughly equivalent. Of course, this is DDR4, this is DDR3, so that's going to be interesting what differences that'll bring. Slower speeds but tighter latencies. There is less of it, but I find I don't usually use more than about 18-20 gigs at any one time anyway, so it's not a really big deal. I did notice the Rampage 4 does get really hot when overclocking on this 8-core, the VRM heatsink. With that in mind, I did rotate the fan direction of the main radiator, so the radiator fans are going to be blowing straight down on the board, so that should provide more than enough cooling. So I just wanted to go over the differences. Keep in mind, this is pretty much a overclocking centric board. So this board actually has a lot more features than this board. It's one of the reasons why I'm going with this one. Just because it has Wi-Fi, more USB ports, more SATA ports, more USB headers. And so that's really the only reason I'm going with this one over this one. everything is together. Everything is working now. It's a few days later, and I did run into some issues. So the main issue I ran into was memory. And before, I did plan to use 24 gigs. So 4 8 gig sticks and 4 4 gig sticks. Now the 4 gig sticks were dual rank. So, and they're much older. So they're probably not as good as the other ones. But before I did this, I put it on the test bench and overclocked them and tested out memory timings and got it where I liked it. And then I decided to put it in here. This didn't work out so well because when I put it in here, booted it up, it just wouldn't have it. It just would not boot, just didn't like it at all. So I ended up replacing those older, lower capacity sticks with quad channel 16 gig kit I had. And so now everything is perfectly fine. RAM speeds are decent. They're at like 2500 megahertz-ish. I do have some benchmarks to show you guys. Just keep in mind that these benchmarks are kind of only for my purposes, and this is kind of like a very esoteric benchmarking comparison because you have the 6800X 6-core higher single core performance and then an older architecture. So we'll have those up on the screen now. We can see that there's quite a big difference. One, the 7800X uses quite a lot faster DRAM speeds, so it's 4000 CL19. The Xeon chip is using DDR3, so it's 25-ish 100 megahertz. It's CL14. Now there's no doubt that the DDR4 is going to be faster, 4000 megahertz versus 2500. Yeah, the timings are higher, but you know, that frequency will more than make up for that. But honestly, with me just using it the way I usually use it, and doing what I need to do with it, I haven't really noticed any difference.